The Samsung Galaxy S26 Edge is thinner than last year's model yet somehow fits a bigger battery. Sounds impressive, right? Well, here's the twist. That upgrade might not actually be worth it. So, let's break this down. The Galaxy S26 Edge now has a 4200 mAh battery. That's up from 3900 mAh on the S25 Edge. On paper, that's progress. But in reality, it's just a 300 mAh bump less than what earlier rumors suggested. Some reports had us expecting 4400 mAh, which would have been a more meaningful leap forward. Instead, what we're getting feels more like a refinement than a reinvention. Here's the thing, Samsung is walking a tightrope between design and battery life. They've shaved the S26 Edge down to just 5.5 millimeters, that's 0.3 millimeters slimmer than the S25 Edge. That's impressively thin for a phone in 2025, and squeezing a larger battery into a smaller chassis is no small feat. But does that slimmer profile actually improve your day-to-day experience? Probably not. Most users don't buy a phone based on how thin it is. Sure, it looks sleek and feels nice in the hand, but the trade-off, especially if battery life is even slightly compromised, isn't one everyone's willing to make. That's why Samsung's been leaning heavily on software-side battery optimization to make up the difference, and to be fair, it's working well enough on the S25 Edge to make that device surprisingly long-lasting despite its modest capacity. Still, if you're coming from the S25 Edge, the S26 doesn't scream upgrade. Yes, it's marginally better, but not meaningfully better. You're looking at a little more battery life and a slightly slimmer profile. That's about it. No big redesign, no massive performance leap, no standout feature to tip the scale. And when we compare this to what Apple's doing with the upcoming iPhone 17 lineup, things get more interesting. Apple and Samsung seem to be heading in opposite directions. Samsung is committed to thin and light, while Apple is bulking up literally. The iPhone 17 Pro is getting thicker to support a bigger battery. Meanwhile, the iPhone 17 Air is Apple's answer to the ultra-thin trend, going head-to-head with the Galaxy S26 Edge. So depending on which camp you're in, form or function, you'll have options if you want the slimmest phone possible. These Edge and Air models are made for you. But if battery life is king, the Pro or Ultra variants are going to give you better long-term endurance, even if they're a bit chunkier. That said, there's one major wild card here: AI battery management. Both Apple and Samsung are betting big on it. Smarter software can help stretch the battery life of these slim phones by learning your habits and managing power more intelligently. On the S25 Edge, that approach already shows real results. And the slightly bigger battery on the S26 Edge should only improve that. Still, we're talking about incremental changes here. It's not a generational leap. Which brings us back to the core question: is the S26 Edge worth the upgrade? If you're using a Galaxy S24 or older and you're drawn to the slim design, the S26 Edge might make sense. It's refined, more efficient, and sleeker than ever. But if you're already on the S25 Edge, the upgrade just doesn't move the needle enough. You're trading up for a few millimeters of thickness and a few percentage points of battery life, not exactly a game-changer. So unless you're someone who really values that ultra-thin form factor, you're better off sticking with what you have. And maybe that's the real takeaway here: the Edge and Air models aren't about innovation, they're about style. These phones are becoming side grades, not upgrades, designed for people who already know what they want in a device and are willing to trade a bit of function for form. And while we all love thinner and lighter devices, it's worth asking, at what point does chasing sleek design start to take more than it gives back? Phones are already powerful enough for most people. What users want now is practicality, better battery life, meaningful performance gains, and durability. Until slimmer phones can deliver those without compromise, they'll stay niche. What's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section. See you in the next video. Take care.